All right, let's get into it. Today, we're not just going to read a story. We're basically performing an autopsy on one. We're going to break down how this short, brutal narrative, Communion of Brothers, manages to build an entire collapsed world, dig into what makes us human, and just use every single word to create this feeling of inevitable tragedy.
And it all kicks off right here with this one sentence. I mean, this is the very first line, and it does so much heavy lifting. It's not just a cold day, right? The world itself is described as brittle, faltering. Even the sun is arthritic. So this isn't just a backdrop. The setting is a character in its own right, and it's dying. This is how we enter a world that's already completely fallen apart. So how is this picture painted for us? Well, it's not with some big, grand explanation of what happened. It's done with these small, sharp little fragments of decay. The story never tells us what caused the apocalypse. Instead, it forces us to become detectives, piecing it all together from the trash on the ground and the horrors hiding in plain sight. And just think about the language here for a second. The shell casings aren't just there. They're moving around with the litter in drunken, giddy, brief dalliances. That's so poetic, almost playful, for what's left behind after a gunfight. That choice of words tells you everything you need to know. The brutality of this world has become totally casual, just another piece of garbage dancing in the wind. And then you see this, the new laws of the land, bodies hanging in trees. And they're not just there because of random violence, they're reminders. This is what passes for justice now. It's swift, it's brutal, and it's public. So this isn't chaos. It's a terrifying new kind of order. It gets even crazier. Even the simple act of growing food has become an act of war. The most basic source of life is literally surrounded by death. The danger isn't just from other people anymore. It's baked right into the ground you walk on. The fight for survival has turned the entire world into one giant, unmarked minefield. Okay, so that's our world, and living in it, we meet our two main characters. And these guys aren't just partners in crime. They are walking, talking philosophies of survival, and they are completely at odds with each other. Their conflict is really the engine that drives this entire story.
And this contrast, it tells us everything. The younger thief shaves his head. He's creating a new face for this savage new world, and he carries his rifle openly, like a declaration. But the older thief, he hides his face, keeps his pistol tucked away, almost like he's hoping he'll never have to actually face the violence of this world. One has embraced the change, the other is still chained to the man he used to be.
And this one line from the older thief, it just reveals everything about him. He's not just cautious, he's superstitious. He still believes in things like jinxes and tempting fate. That's a belief system from a world that doesn't even exist anymore, and it clashes so hard with his partner's reckless, almost desperate hunger. And this clash of philosophies, well, it comes to a head in their plan, a plan the younger thief calls simple. But as we're about to see, in this world, nothing is ever simple, especially when the two partners can't even agree on the basic fundamentals of how to stay alive. So here's the so-called simple plan. On the surface, okay, it makes a little tactical sense. But the older thief, he immediately sees the fatal flaw. He says splitting up is asking for trouble. He wants the rifle if he's the one on watch. He doesn't trust his partner's twitchy state. You see, this isn't a disagreement about tactics. It's a complete breakdown of trust. And this gets right to the heart of the older thief's worldview. He gets that the word survival has become twisted. It's not a goal anymore. It's an alibi for doing terrible things. It's not about being the strongest, but the keenest, the most paranoid, the most aware, the one who knows better than to trust a so-called simple plan. Which really brings us to this question, right? Because the last time they thought a job was easy, their third partner ended up dead, shot by marshals. The story reminds us of this massive failure right before they try this new, simple plan. The foreshadowing is just so thick you can cut it with a knife. You just know this is not going to end well. And now we hit the climax. What's so masterful here is that the tension isn't built on what we see, but on what the older thief hears, and maybe more importantly, what he doesn't hear. The action is almost entirely off-screen, which just forces us to imagine the absolute worst. This is the moment. The younger thief goes in, you hear him shout for a second, and then nothing. Just silence.
And in that silence, you can feel the older thief's paranoia, his keenness just going into overdrive. His mind is filling that void with every possible disaster. The waiting is the real torture.
And then the silence shatters. The first gunshot. It's a sound that just snaps him out of his spiraling thoughts and into pure instinct. He's moving before he can even think. His hand is already on his gun. The simple plan is officially over.
Then a second shot. He's not just walking fast anymore. He's in a full-on sprint. That space between the sounds is everything. Each shot just escalates the urgency and the mystery. Who's shooting? Who's being shot? We are right there with him, just running blind towards the danger. Then a third and a fourth shot. Boom, boom, rapid fire. He recognizes the sound instantly. It's that aggressive bark of his partner's rifle. So he knows his partner is alive and he's fighting. But that doesn't answer the most important question, does it? Is he winning?
So now we enter the aftermath. The gun smoke is hanging heavy in the air, and the story reveals the true cost of their simple plan. And this is where the themes of futility and greed just come crashing down.
The scene inside is just pure carnage. The younger thief is dead. The two old shopkeepers are dead, their matching pistols lying right near their bodies. And for what? The shelves are almost bare. This whole scene, it's the story's thesis statement. In this world, immense violence is waged for pitifully small rewards. So what is the final cost here? Let's do the math. 3 dead men for 1 bag of cans. And as we're about to see, the true price is even higher, and it all gets crystallized in the form of a single dropped tin of food. It's just a gut-wrenching balance sheet. This right here is the psychological pivot of the entire story. The older thief's grief and his guilt and his hunger, it all just curdles into this single obsessive thought. That tin isn't just food anymore. It's a memorial. It's a trophy. And leaving it behind would make his friend's death meaningless. In that moment, the drive for survival is totally replaced by something else, a desperate, fatal greed. And this is the final, brutal twist. As he's lying there on the floor, completely vulnerable, obsessed with getting that one last tin, the door opens and closes. We never see who it is. A customer? A raider? Another thief? It doesn't matter. The story ends right there, leaving him and us trapped in that final moment of awful realization. And that leaves us with this final question. In a world where you have to be the keenest to survive, what's the one thing you can't afford to lose? Well, this story suggests it's your focus. The older thief survived the gunfight. He outlived his reckless partner. But in the end, he was defeated. Not by a bullet, but by a single tin of food. Defeated by a moment of greed that made him forget the most important rule of this faltering world.